Hi everyone, how's everyone doing here today? Pardon some of the background noise, there's a lot of commotion going on. It is hot, it is humid, but it's a beautiful day out. So I wanted to talk about a little experience I had a few weeks ago involving a homeless home. It was when I was out at lunch break. There was some woman there and some EMTs were there, and I don't know, I guess she didn't look well or anything like that. I mean, she actually didn't. But she refused medical help and everything, and it was raining out at the time, so it was, a bit of a messy day. And I offered to buy her some food. I just asked her if she was okay, because, even though she was refusing help, again, she wasn't well. And, she wanted just a ham sandwich on rye with a little mayo and some Coke. And she couldn't eat there. It wasn't like that type of public place. There was no seating for customers. So what I did was, there was a church nearby I was able to walk her to, because she needed a place to relax. Her legs were kind of hurting her, so were her feet. She was pretty tired. She was in about, I'd say, mid to late 60s and everything. And when we got to the church, at one point, she seemed a little nervous because, again, pardon some of the background music, but again, she was at one point clenching her fingers into my arm. I had short sleeves on, and I told her, I said, yeah, you scratched me there. She didn't do it intentionally. I think she was just, a little nervous, a little at ease. When we got to the church, I tried to encourage her to just breathe slowly and everything. It's a church I've been to before. She had doubts, but I told her, I said, I've been here before. If you just walk in there casually and don't do anything to attract attention, you'll be fine. And I offered to call some shelters or anything. I used ChatGPT to look up possible resources in the city. And there were a few options, and she pretty much refused them all. And she knew she couldn't eat in the church, so nearby there was another public place, a little seating area and stuff, near a bank where we could go to. And her socks were saturated, her shoes did not fit her. It looks like she got them from some clothing bin or something from somewhere. I didn't ask. And, I tried to help her get her shoes back on, and I couldn't. I ended up giving her one of my socks, because when I peeled her socks off, her feet were pale, slightly bloated and everything. And I finally got her to the eating place, and she started to eat slowly and everything. And unfortunately, there was not a whole lot more that I could do. And I got her some coffee. It was a little overpriced. I didn't care about the money. And, she seemed a little relieved that somebody extended some kindness to her. But, I just told her, this place I've been to, don't fall asleep, because you're not allowed to sleep there. That's the one thing they don't allow. And same thing as before. If you walk in there quietly and you just sit peacefully enjoying your dinner. Her clothes were considerably wet. She slightly smelled of urine. And I'm not giving these details to put her down or judge or anything. I'm just saying, she had fallen on hard times. I don't know exactly how or how long she's been homeless, but she pretty much had no place else to go. And the fact that she was refusing homeless shelters because she says she's scared to go there because she's had bad experiences there. A woman, especially at her age and everything, is vulnerable to sexual assault. So after I left, the only thing I could really do to an extreme at that point would be to take her home with me. But even then, that's not too practical because, I have responsibilities at home to do. So, even though I did something to help her to a point, I still kind of felt bad. And there was not a whole lot I could do. Now, not too long ago, in the news, they had Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, talking. This was a few weeks ago, by the way. It's got nothing to do with what's going on in L.A., but he was talking about sending the police in to clear away some of the tents where homeless people are. And although I'm mostly supportive of Gavin Newsom, I don't agree with everything he's done in the past. And this is one of the key things that I would definitely disagree with, because that is not a way to solve the problem. What I did was the next day was just get on the phone with my local reps and the governor and some of my local senators and just ask them if they can do things to put funding towards homeless initiatives. And I even looked up some homeless shelters in my area. There was one place where I was able to do a small amount of volunteer work for just sorting through clothes and everything that they give to, the poverty or homeless people. Not the most, it's kind of boring, not the most exciting thing, but at least it helps and everything. And I'm still looking to other things. So that's kind of what I'm asking you to do. And if there are any charities in your area that you can help out with that, that's fine. Sadly, as much as I know there's some of you out there who are going to say, oh, you did a good thing, that's kind of you, we appreciate it and everything. And I appreciate the kind words, but this isn't about me. This is about them and a problem that is nationwide, even worldwide, you could probably say. But as far as in your state, if you can try and get them to provide more funding to that, because it's not a quick and simple thing that can go away. Gavin Newsom may think he's doing the right thing by policing them or arresting them. They're not criminals. And even if you put a homeless in jail, somebody who's not too sensitive might make the argument, well, at least they got a place to stay and everything. I don't think a jail cell is hardly an improvement when you're sleeping out on the streets, to say nothing about the company that you're with, if you know what I'm saying. And, just flushing them out, all they're going to do is go someplace else and find the other place. And that would simply, now on the surface, you may say, oh, okay, so it's not the homeless themselves, it's just you don't like the sight of it. Well, policing them only changes the optics, but the substance of the problem is still there. And I was looking at some other content creators, and some of the things they were suggesting were like, getting your representatives to push policies like trying to increase the minimum wage, trying to make Medicare more helpful, especially for mentally ill, which is definitely a contributing factor into homeless people. Some people are homeless because, they have some mental issue and they can't get the treatment that they need. And because of that, they can't sustain a job or a normal lifestyle. This is not... It can be a problem that can be solved if we work together to solve it and get our reps to do the same thing. But that's not always so simple and done. And some people are going to say, oh, handouts and everything, socialism. I don't want to hear that shit. I really don't. Okay? All I'm asking you is, if you're doing random acts of kindness, that's great. But as I said, that's not enough. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic or discourage those efforts. If anything, I'd say keep them up. I could have easily walked away from that woman. But if not, I provided a little food and a little kindness and compassion, even if it only lasted a few moments. But if you can get on the phone with your reps and encourage them and look into possible homeless shelters and see what volunteer initiatives or opportunities are there that you can participate in, that would also help. But eventually it's going to boil down to, our leaders who are in charge who also have to make those efforts as well, tremendously. Okay? Because in the end, in spite of what you may think about the issue or where you stand on the issue, these are human beings. They have their dignity. They are scared. They're living in a difficult situation. And it's easy to think that, well, that could never happen to me. Wrong. It could happen to just about anybody, if you think about it. But the fact that it's happening and nothing's being done about it, or nothing more thorough is being done about it, to me in itself is an issue. So it's one that I hope we can work together and try and resolve. So, and if you have any suggestions, by all means, feel free to leave a comment, okay? Again, it's not about me. It's what are some other things that we can do that can have a more significant impact. And maybe all I did was just volunteer briefly one weekend, but there were other volunteers as well, and collectively, that's when it starts to make a difference. If more of you are calling your reps and putting pressure on them to address the issue, that can collectively help have a greater impact and make a difference. So, anyway, thank you for watching. I really hope you understand.